This is a portal made entirely with geometry nodes. We have our initial geometry, which is a curved spiral, some particles that spawn off of that, and then some volume that spawns from those particles. And this is what it looks like on its side. And this is the node tree that puts it all together. So in this video, I'm going to be going through and breaking down exactly how I put this thing together. And in the next 3 videos, I'm going to be going step by step and teaching you how to make something similar to this with a few tweaks. So stay tuned for that. So in order to best explain this to you, I will have to go through step by step and hit each node. So I start out with a curved spiral. And I just changed the parameters on that to get something that I liked. Then I mirrored it and joined those two things together. So now we have this. And on the mirror, I transformed it and moved it a little bit on the x-axis, because if it's at 0, they don't connect and it's not perfectly mirrored. Don't know why it's doing that. Probably something that I'm doing wrong. Let me know in the comments. And this is the trim curve node. I take this node and animate the start and end respectively, the endpoint first on these keyframes, and you can adjust that to be whatever you want it to be. It's up to you. And the start point from this 0 to 1 as well, to make it disappear. This will help control the amount of points that we have in the system here. After that, I take it through a transform geometry node, which then rotates that on the z-axis. So that way we have this effect here. After that, I use the spline parameter, which gives us a 1 to 0 of the curve. As you can see here, it is a 1 on the center to 0 on the outside. What I did to fix that is I put it through a map range node, and this gives me the opposite effect because I have it from 1 to 0 instead of 0 to 1. And then I just made that incredibly small as I need it to be in this curved mesh. And that curved mesh has a curved circle here. Leave the radius the same, whatever it is, because that is going to be scale, or the curved mesh scale is going to be controlled by this map range with the factor of the spline parameter going into it. After that curved mesh, I distribute points on the faces of that mesh. As I'm distributing these points on each frame, it is a different distribution seed. So I have scene time frame set into seed there. That just helps with a little bit of randomness. So now that we have all of this primitive right here, all of this is the primitive. This is where our points come in. We can go through to our simulation. So those points go into the simulation. We have an initial vector velocity of 0, and then our integer starts at 0 because that is the age of our particles. After we go through this, we pipe into a set point radius, which sets the radius of our points based on the age of the particle. And the age of the particle is captured after we join the same particles from each frame through. So now that we have that, you can see they all are set like that. Now, they're all just kind of staying there and continuously being generated. So what I want to do is go through here, and we'll come back and talk about this point radius here in a second. And I have it going through to gravity. So I kind of like it where the particles are kind of falling down like this. So after that, I've got it into a turbulence, which is a set position node driven by a noise texture with the frame going into the W of our noise texture, the color going in and being subtracted by 0.5 on the vector, and scaling it based on a parameter that we have here, we're just adding that vector to the initial velocity and piping that into the set position. That gives us a turbulence field. Now, what you've been waiting for, we have our particles, and we also have the age of our particles. Now we have all of that. So you can see here, this is a visualization of the age of the particles. And this is, if the age is greater than this lifetime, then the points will be deleted. So looking at this set position back here, before we delete the geometry, all of these points that are white will be deleted, all of the black ones will remain. Now that we have that, I can show you this right here. Update age is just the age attribute plus 1, and that's it. Go back here to this capture point radius. All we're doing here is setting the point radius based on the age and capturing that radius so we can have it outside of here and use it for our volume. So the next thing that I'll show you here is that our points are now randomly being pushed out by the noise texture. And I'll skip the volume for a second here and go to instance on points. So we're going to go click this instance on points here. And I have this, which I want the scale of these particles to be the radius times. That gives us our scale going based on our point radius, which is based on our age of the particle. So now that we have that taken care of, this node right here just sets the material, which you can see here. Initial geometry material is here. This is our sphere material, and this is our volume material. I've got a switch here where you can set the instance to be the sphere or a random object that you would like. And you can just click enable object to do that. Say you want to use a cone or something like that, you just whatever. Or you're feel free to use one of the other primitives that we have in geometry nodes. Now for the volume. What I'm doing here is I'm taking these points that we've simulated, baking that, and sending it through to another set position node to kind of move those points out. And doing that by a noise texture with a scale, same setup as the turbulence over here, just outside of it. And that just sets the position of those points a little bit further, and they're still moving with that turbulence. It's just in a different way. After that, those points are going into a points to volume, which we have a volume density, which is just the density of it. I have that set to 1 for now because that is the density of each individual point of volume. And the voxel amount is 128. Feel free to put this as whatever you want. The higher the number, the more computing power it's going to use. If you think of a pixel as a square, a voxel is a cube. And then I go through and bake that, and I have that radius multiplied by 10 into this points to volume as the radius for each point. That way they're all dynamically changing based on, once again, the age of the particles. So I have these points being displaced slightly based on a noise texture. Play with the parameters on here to get what you want. And then I have a points to volume. And as you can see, if I undo this, set this to 1, all of the points are the same size. But instead of doing that, I want to put our radius multiplied by 10, so that way that scales with the age of the particles. And then I bake that, and then I send that through a step material where I set the volumes material. Now I have the volume, the instances of the particles, and the main spiral. And then I join all 3 of those together to give us our final product. Now let's go over our materials. Go into render mode here. We'll go to our materials, turn off overlays so you can see it a little bit better, and we'll change this to our shader editor. I went ahead and added 3 material slots to represent each one of the materials that we have in our set materials. So now I can easily access all 3 of these. The first material we're going to go over is the volume texture. It's pretty simple. It is a noise texture driven by a frame divided by 20 driver with a color ramp, multiply to go into the density. So that's pretty simple there. The next one we're going to go over is the initial geometry. So I just have a Fresnel going through a color ramp in through an invert color. And to show you this a little bit better, we will turn off the volume. So we'll go, for now, through a color ramp, which gives you those lines, and then invert that, which gives you black lines on the outside. And you can adjust this a little bit if you like. So this gives you a soft edge around the outside of those. And then whenever you run it through here with the spline parameter, this gives you a 0 to 1 of it. The top one is not working because it is a mirrored one. That gives you kind of a yin-yang effect here. And I think it breaks up the other spiral pretty well. And I just run those through a linear light. So you get both of them. The top one is completely black and the other one is not. And that runs through a multiply and an alpha node, giving you this, which doesn't seem perfect. However, we don't care about perfect. Our particles are just an emission going through 100 strength into the surface, and then our initial geometry. So it just adds a little bit of pop to it. So you can see it more whenever the whole thing is starting. So if I go here and then do that, it's just a little bit brighter on those. And then all of the particles that are coming out of it are also lit up. After that, it's just time to render. And I basically just go cycles, 0.1 on the noise threshold, 300 samples, denoise is set to optics, full global illumination is selected, and I added motion blur. You can turn this off or on if you want. And then after that, you just hit render and wait for it to go. So here is the final result. If you enjoyed this video, stay tuned for the next 3 videos where I'm going to go through and break down each step of this process that I went through on the geometry nodes. We will start on the first video with our base setup. Then we will go with our simulation, and then we will add a volume, instance on points, and have something similar to this portal, but not exactly the same. And if you want this project file, it will be available on Gumroad for $1. Link in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash that like, hit subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one.